Hey guys, it's Noah. Welcome back to the podcast. Well, you might know our next guest from Netflix's Instant Dream Home, but you can catch her as the lead role in the new film Love Virtually. Please welcome the one and the only, the fabulous Paige Mobley. Hello, Paige.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me.
So nice to have you on the podcast. So let's go ahead and get started. So you are from Birmingham, Michigan. How was it like growing up in Michigan, and how different of a change was it to move to LA?
Sure. Well, growing up in the Midwest was amazing and not amazing at the same time. It was cold, but it was also quiet. And I think it was really nice sort of growing up in a simple, small town. But I always had big city dreams. I always wanted to move to Los Angeles. I always wanted to audition and be in the entertainment industry. So I was always sort of lusting for something different, you know?
And also, too, you started at a very young age being in the industry from appearing in small TV roles such as Gossip Girl, which was widely popular, and Socially Awkward was another great one. How old were you when you got those roles?
Sure. So my parents were pretty adamant about not letting me be in the industry before I turned 18. So the day that I got to New York City and I started going to college, I was like, let me at it,
Right.
So I got to New York and I truly started from the absolute bottom. I was a background extra on pretty much every show that was filming in New York at the time. It was my first time sort of being on a real set and actually experiencing television and film in a professional way. And then from there started auditioning and doing modeling and all of that stuff. So about 18 years old was when I was really sort of allowed and kind of went for it, really.
Now, from Gossip Girl, did you ever get to have a chat with Blake Lively from the show? Because she was so popular on that series.
It's funny. I saw her and she was on set that day, but I didn't gain up the courage to speak to her. But funny story, her father actually thought that I was her from behind because we have very similar stature. I'm pretty tall, same kind of blonde hair, all deeper voice. And so I was standing at the crafty table where you get, snacks and food on set. And her father came up to me and was like, hey, and sort of put his hand on my shoulder. And I didn't know who he was. And he was like, oh my gosh, I thought you were my daughter, Blake. And I was like, wait, what is happening? So it was very, very special. Very cool.
Hilarious. You should have said no, but I would like to be in the family,
Sure. I was like, well, if you'd like to adopt another.
Hey, I'm here,
Right.
Now, your major breakout role was taken on America's Next Top Model for Cycle 23, which led you on The Ellen Show, Access Live, and other notable outlets. But what was your experience like with Rita Ora, as so many have said that they have not had a great experience with Tyra Banks?
Yeah, it's interesting in the recent years, a lot has been coming out about America's Next Top Model, and there's
on Twitter.
I think, absolutely, and I think that with any program that you do, there's always going to be highs and lows, and I think for me, you're right, I didn't get to experience Tyra Banks as the host of our show. I experienced Rita, and she was lovely, but my overall experience, my personal experience on America's Next Top Model was really great because the entire experience, I sort of knew. I knew just how big of a deal it was for me to be on a TV show even at all. Like I said, I'd always lusted towards this industry. And so to even be there was like a dream come true. But I think that now that time has passed, it's definitely a little bit more clear, some of the things that weren't so great, but I think that overall in my journey and in my story, it was really beneficial for me. And Rita was lovely. I didn't get to hang out with her sort of one-on-one or anything, because I think when you're a contestant versus being a judge or the host of that show, we were really separated. But every interaction that I had with her was really cool. So
that's great. And Rita's so lovely. Now, was there ever a toxic environment that you happen to remember in your specific season?
In my season, I didn't experience anything personally toxic, but I think that a lot of other America's Next Top Model contestants can sort of contest to the fact that you're locked in a house. You're not allowed to go and do anything if you're not very, very heavily chaperoned. You're not exposed to sort of the outside world during filming. There are things about being a volunteer, contestant on one of these shows that you sort of sign your life away a little bit for the time of filming. And I mean, that in and of itself is pretty wild. So
Yeah.
thinking back on it, it's like I didn't experience anything personally that was crazy traumatizing, but I think the experience as a whole, just being a contestant on something like that can be pretty tough,
Yeah. Oh, I agree, Paige. And now, just asking a follow-up question, would you ever go back and do it again if you knew how the experience was now? Which, you had a great experience, but would you ever go back and do it again?
Interestingly enough, I've thought about this, and I had somebody ask me once if I would ever be willing to do like an all-star season because
Yeah.
American Next Top Model has done that. And I actually think I would. And the reason being is, when I did America's Next Top Model the first time, I was
Hmm.
22. I was in a state in my life where I was really nervous. I wanted so badly to sort of be liked, and I wanted so badly to sort of make it in the industry. Now, with so many years under my belt, I feel like I would enter back into the competition with a newfound confidence. I feel like I would just be a better and different version of myself and bring that to the table. And I think I would, yeah, I think that I would do it. I really would. And like I said, I have good memories of the experience, and it's such a cult sort of following classic television show. It's one of the, most well-known, I think, reality shows of all time. So I feel blessed to have been a part of it then, and I definitely think I would do it again in the
Yeah.
future as well.
I could see you hosting a show. I think you'd be a perfect host.
Oh, thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Just
I
randomly say that. But I
no,
think you'd be
I
so
mean,
good at it.
yeah, I do. I mean, I think that Instant Dream Home was a lot of sort of hosting and
Yeah.
being in front of the camera, and I love meeting people and engaging with people.
Hmm.
So I think that'd be a great route as well. Hey, who knows? Maybe in the future we'll host some kind of America's Next Top Model something.
Yeah.
Given that I was previously a contestant, who knows?
And maybe you'll be that. Yes, be the host for it. That would be fantastic. But let's now dive into Netflix's Instant Dream Home. Home renovation has always been a big part of your life as your parents worked in the home renovation industry, flipping houses. So joining the show, probably was not a big challenge for you as you knew things about renovating before going into the show, right?
Yes, I did. My co-stars, they are wildly talented in their respective fields, sort of in the home industry. But for me, I came into the show with a very unique background. I'm not a landscaper by trade. I'm not an interior designer by trade. I'm in entertainment. But what was interesting is when I went into audition, I think that everybody was really captivated by the fact that I not only had this background in entertainment,
Hmm.
but I also had this whole life of living among home reno given my parents. So I had lived in, I mean, upwards of like 30 plus houses by the time I graduated high school because my parents were constantly flipping and doing home renos, and I lived within them.
Yeah.
So I sort of brought this emotional aspect to the show that I think was really special from the jump, and now it's wonderful to be a part of. I was really in charge of connecting the family emotionally to the home, taking a house and making it a home, if you will, and making sure that when these families walked in the front door, they were like, wow, emotionally I belong here. And I felt like I brought a lot of that with my own childhood, my own experiences. I brought that into the show for the families, and that was easily the best part. I mean, the best part about being on a show like this is, doing great things for great people. And I mean, we were just bombarded with that every day. So
And it really uplifts you when you see that you do such hard work for somebody else that deserves it more than you do. And then hopefully, maybe on down the line, they'll pay you back for it, which, sometimes people just don't worry about paybacks. They don't care, they just do it out the kindness of their hearts. But I always say, people will eventually pay it forward and something good will come to you for helping someone else.
yes. Oh my gosh. I think that we put so much hard work into this
Hmm.
show. It's a show that pre-production, and then when we're actually filming, it's I mean, we're dripping in sweat. The end of the
Yeah.
we're our hearts are racing, we're covered in sweat. But we got to actually, after we run out of the house and the families pull up the driveway and come and start viewing the home, me and my three co-stars, we actually would run into this tent that was about, a couple houses down, and we would get to watch live these families go through what we just did and walk through the home.
Wow.
And we're just sitting there, hearts racing, covered in sweat, crying our eyes out because it's a
Oh.
beautiful, beautiful moment to get to see what your work is doing for other people. And you're right, it's a wonderfully selfless act, and something that I'll probably hold in my heart forever being a part of a project like this. So.
And two, to know how so many people have been affected by COVID and everyone's, I think, just been through such a tough time. It's really the great time to give back and to do something kind for someone else, because people are still going through a lot of mental health issues right now because COVID really put a high weight on that. And I mean, I just feel for so many people, and this is such a great show. And if you're looking for something on TV, on Netflix to watch that's uplifting, this is definitely the show to watch. Now, in the series, a team of renovators, now they take big risks to transform a family's home from top to bottom. This was incredible to learn within just 12 hours. What? Within 12 hours? How much pressure was that to make sure everything was fully done before the big reveal, like to get everything completed?
The most pressure, all of the pressure. As much pressure as you can imagine, that amount. I mean, just unbelievable. I sometimes when I think back on the, last summer when we shot, I can't even wrap my mind around it. I mean, but we have the most incredible crew. I mean, we have a crew of 300 plus people behind the scenes, in front of the camera, working with us in these homes. And it's mayhem, but it's delicious, lovely, fabulous mayhem. And it's
Yeah.
kind of sort of a part of that TV magic that you always hope to be a part of when you're in the business, I guess. So, yeah.
Now, Paige, what family touched you the most with their story? Because we hear a lot of stories in the first season, but which one really pulled a heartstring for you?
I think without a doubt, and I don't speak for my co-stars, the boys, but I think all of us really, the Beautycan Family, episode 1, which is great because if you haven't seen the show and you want to just watch the first episode, the Beautycan Family is sort of a matriarch and her daughter is pregnant. And this is 3 generations of women living in this one house in
Wow.
the outskirts of Atlanta, Georgia. And the matriarch, the grandmother, has gone through so many health issues that she's now gone blind.
Mm.
And watching her daughter sort of at the end of the episode walk her through this home that she brought her daughter home in when she was a baby, that she's now going to bring her daughter home in when she gives birth, and watching this woman walk her mother through the home and explain to her in vivid verbal detail what we've done to this home that's, been in their family through these generations. I mean, not a dry eye in the place. I mean, all of us were so deeply moved. And this woman is a social justice warrior. I mean, in Atlanta, she has done so much for Black Lives Matter. She's done so much for the Jewish community. I mean, she's really gone above and beyond in her life to give back to other people. And then for her to now go through these health issues, to have gone blind, it was a beautiful, beautiful thing to be a part of. And I will never forget it, honestly, for the rest of my life, is just being there, shaking her hand, and allowing us to sort of create a new chapter in this home that held so much value and so much importance to this generational family, so.
Well, let's switch gears now and talk about your new upcoming film. You booked a lead role for the film titled Love Virtually. The trailer just released a couple of days ago, but can you tell us about the movie and the character that you play in the film?
Sure. So this movie is a ensemble cast. Lots of different characters come into play, and they all interact in what is sort of seen as like the metaverse. So we all are in virtual reality interacting with one another. The characters crisscross, they intertwine. And I play Kimberly. I play the female love interest to the lead in the film, played by Peter Gilroy, who is fantastic. And we go on sort of a little bit of a romantic journey in this metaverse rom-com film. And it's, like I said, it's an ensemble cast, so there are many different stories sort of happening all at once. But it's a very cool film because we shot it sort of peak COVID. And the way in which that we were able to film a rom-com and do all this multimedia work of us not only shooting live in person, but then also shooting and having these avatars and doing voiceover work, it was really special. And especially in a time where, we felt like, what is going to happen to the film industry? Just to be working during that time was really, really cool. So very excited that it's finally coming out and we sort of get to see and have that memory as well of COVID, a happy memory from COVID.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, how difficult was it to come to set and get the project complete, as there was probably many safety precautions that had to be followed. And like you said, none of us knew what was going to happen with any of our jobs, especially the film industry. If you don't have the film industry, I feel like the film industry can really hardly never shut down it, but they did during COVID, because films entertain us. They keep us going. And especially with us being locked in our homes, we're all looking for films to watch on TV or streaming,
Yes. Yes. I think creatively it was so nice to have an outlet. But like you said, we had very, very strict COVID protocols. So when we would show up to set, we had masks, we had
The
face
shields.
shields,
The
we
face shields.
had and kudos to our union, to SAG-AFTRA, for doing the absolute most that they could for us to be able to go back to work in a sort of safe environment, protecting actors and everybody involved. But yes, I mean, everything from crafty and the food that we ate changed, and the way that it was given to us and packaged, no buffet style, all the way to, wearing masks and wearing face shields during hair and makeup, and making sure that we were traveling to and from set perfectly safe. I mean, so much changed, but it was absolutely necessary to sort of keep everything going so that we could keep creating art for people to be able to ingest and for creatives to keep working. So it was difficult, but I mean, totally worth it, and exactly what needed to happen in order for us to keep going.
And props to the healthcare professionals and everyone that would swab people up with the COVID test.
Yes, so many COVID.
How many swabs did you get on this movie set?
Funny enough, if I were to combine the movie set and when I was on set for Instant Dream Home, I'm not kidding, I probably was swabbed like 500 times. I'm like a pro at this point. You could put the stick all the way up there, and I don't even flinch anymore. I don't even cough, no sneeze. I'm perfect.
The Golden Globes recently happened, and so many stars got sick with COVID.
Oh my gosh, no.
It was a COVID outbreak. Oh,
not a super spreader. We can't have that.
Even though I still wear my mask sometimes, I'm still a little cautious.
I feel like traveling, you have to. I feel like my boyfriend lives in Japan, and in Japan, like, everything is still very much like
very strict.
Yes. Oh my gosh, very. So coming back here, I sometimes am like, wait, should I put my mask on? It's weird, like, getting in and out of it, But
I'm living in Georgia, so we don't really have a whole lot of strict policies. But in Los Angeles, I think they have been more stricter there than, because I was in Los Angeles in 2021 of December, and we were doing something at Universal for Dr. Seuss's The Grinch, because they have Grinchmas, and very strict. You had to wear a mask outside, which we don't do that over here, but unless we're going into a department store, but and mask on the Uber, I was like, oh.
It's interesting. It's sort of like, I feel everywhere you go, different protocols. You just kind of have to be ready and like be able to adapt. But it's interesting. But I mean, Georgia, amazing. As we've shot all of Instant Dream Home in Georgia, and I'm like the biggest.
Isn't it lovely?
It's so lovely.
Don't you want to move here? Move here. Come over here.
I lived in Sandy Springs, and I just got to spend the whole summer, like, really, it's my first time ever living in Atlanta, and I really loved it. Like, I really, really loved it.
There's a lot of movies. Netflix, they're filming over here all the time.
I feel like, honestly, I tell people this all the time, but I feel like 70% of the things that I audition for shoot in Atlanta, Georgia.
You should come on over here. Sandy Springs is really nice.
Like, hang on, maybe I gotta.
Peachtree City is a nice one too. Alpharetta, Georgia, lovely.
Oh, I have some friends that live in Alpharetta, and it's beautiful. I think I went to a really good bagel place there. Regardless,
and I was just doing an interview with an actress, and she was telling me that they live in a 1-bedroom apartment with their kid. I was like, oh no. I'm like, she's like, it's very expensive out in Los Angeles. And I think that's probably why so many stars are moving out from there. A lot of them are moving to Texas or Tennessee or Georgia.
Yeah, it really, I mean, the thing is, I think a lot of actors now, because it's becoming so much easier for us to audition virtually, that it's easier for us to relocate if we want to. And I know so many people that are moving to Atlanta because they want to, like you said, they want to have a house. If you want to be able to afford a house
and a family, that they can have enough room for their family, and I saw an article this week by Variety, and I think Elizabeth Wagmeister, hello Elizabeth, over there at Variety, she released a story about Kelly Clarkson, how they're wanting to move her show from LA to New York because Kelly was saying that
Wow.
that LA wouldn't be the first place that she would choose to want to live, that she never really wanted to live there because she was saying that she likes to see rain and story. She was saying LA is like one season all around. Sun, or
I'm actually
fires.
super surprised. I'm super surprised that she doesn't live in Atlanta. Like, I feel like Kelly Clarkson show could easily film in Atlanta, Georgia. Like, there's so many sound stages, and I don't know. That's surprising to me because I would figure that she would pick Georgia, but New York, I mean, New York is amazing.
And I know her people over there. Hey, move to Atlanta. Come over here to Georgia. Come on, Kelly. We will get Kelly and Paige and everyone. We'll get them all over here in Georgia. They'll become Georgia peaches with their sweet teas. That's right. We have good sweet tea.
I kind of always wanted to be a Georgia peach. I'll take that. Yeah.
I want to tell you one quick story and then we'll get back to the questions. But when I went out to Los Angeles for the first time, I was going, I think, to see Kelly and Michael because they were taping at Disneyland. And I was like, first time out in Los Angeles, really hot, except it will get cool in the evening times, I noticed. We went to this nice Mexican restaurant, and I said I want sweet tea. And they're like, oh, okay, sure. And they gave me like this fruity punch tea, and it was like not sweet tea. I'm like, this doesn't taste like this in Georgia. I'm like, what is this? I'm like, did they forget to put something sweet in there? So I've noticed LA has the fruity tea versus the sweet tea.
Yes. Well, see, that was my thing when I was younger and we would travel from Michigan down to Florida in the car. I would always, like, when we would stop in southern states, I would get really excited because I would ask my mom if I could get a sweet tea, and I would say it in my very best southern accent. I'd be like, can I get a sweet tea, please? And my parents would think it's the funniest thing. And then you go out, you're right, to like the West Coast, and it's like everything's unsweetened. You might get like a little fruity essence, but you don't get the traditional Southern sweet tea. So if you want the Southern sweet tea, you got to stay in the South.
Maybe that's why they're so fit out there in Los Angeles. They don't have any sugar. We eat sugar and all this crazy
Natural
stuff
sugar.
over here,
Yes.
I've been thinking about going vegan, but I don't know if I can do it.
Really? That is a tough
That's
a tough one. I couldn't. I gave it a shot.
You did? Tell me your experience.
I gave it a shot because I was like, I feel like everyone's doing it. People seem to be really healthy. I feel like if it wasn't working for people, they wouldn't be all about it. I'll give it a try. I lasted like a week.
You couldn't do it. I don't know. I have so much like acid reflux issue. I'm so sorry. I'm getting so personal with everyone on this podcast.
But it's okay. But I feel like maybe instead of going vegan, try gluten-free, dairy-free.
Oh.
So keep the meat, keep everything else, but try maybe a little bit gluten-free, maybe a little bit dairy-free, and see how you feel. Because I was like that for a little bit. And then I started removing some dairy and gluten. Not crazy, but just a little bit from my diet. It helped a lot.
Okay. Well, I'll do that first before doing the vegan.
And it's so much easier because when you switch to gluten dairy-free, there's substitutions. So you can go to Whole Foods and get yourself a cream cheese that's dairy-free, tastes the same, and you're like, dang, I didn't even miss it because you just substituted out for something else.
Look at Paige over here. She has a new career. She's going to be a foodie like me, talking food. They have like food experts. Like people would do like interviews and, I'm a food expert, and talk about food.
I mean, if I'm a food expert, it's just because I like to eat the damn thing. But I mean, that's pretty much it.
We will name this. I like to eat the damn thing with Paige Mobley,
There you go.
That's right. Yeah. Well, back to the movie Love Virtually that's coming out this year. And I thought this would be perfect to do an interview with you in February since, hint, hint, Love Virtually. We got our Valentine's stuff up and all that good stuff. But what is the big lesson and takeaway from the movie that will really leave the audiences thinking about what they just watched on screen?
Ooh, don't judge a book by its cover, and love always prevails.
Well, you got two right there. That's great. Now, lastly, so many they're taking this year to put themselves first in 2023, as we just talked about. But do you have any priorities that you're making for yourself this year? I think we all want to live a better and healthier lifestyle.
You know what? I think overall, like you said, like big self-love year, 2023. I feel like staying true and authentic to who I really am on the inside and what I really want, treating my body like a temple, both mentally, physically, trying to feed myself better. I think it really is the year of self-care, but self-care all around, in a healthy and, sort of good way, nothing too self-serving, but honestly, just taking care of yourself in all the right ways.
Putting the me in 23.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, Paige, what's coming up for you after the movie releases of Love Virtually? Anything that we should all stay tuned for?
Keep an eye on my production company, East End Entertainment. So I am the co-founder of a female-driven production
That's
company.
great.
Yes, and we are very, very motivated and driven by female storylines and female narratives. And we have some projects that are coming up in 2023 that I can't announce and talk too much about yet, but we're really, really excited. We're just hyped to be a part of the narrative of women and female storytelling and being a part of that in the industry.
Oh, great things coming your way in 2023. Well, Paige Mobley, thank you so much for a great conversation. Catch Netflix's Instant Dream Home if you want to watch a great uplifting series, which I'm sure you do. Come on now, you got to do it. You can watch it streaming right now on Netflix, all of the first season. Maybe a season 2 will be happening. I would hope so.
Crossed,
That
fingers
would be
crossed.
great. Yes, and be sure to catch Love Virtually coming soon, and we'll have all that information appearing somewhere down below. But thank you so much for joining us, Paige. It was so nice to meet you. Hopefully we can meet in person. Maybe if you come out to Georgia, we can go get a sweet tea.
There you go.
Yeah.
My way.
Thanks, Paige.
Bye, guys.
Are you being audited, and do you owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes? If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes, do not call the IRS alone. Call a tax doctor now.